Welcome to episode 17 of Carolyn and Friends. They're trying for the University Life badges, but they'll take any badge they can get, of course, and it's carrots here. It's been such a long time since I posted anything in this story that I thought I would go through all of the current household members. There's quite a few new household members, and then we'll get into the rest of the story. Carolyn is the founding member of this series. She's already achieved her lifetime wish of Seaside Saviour, and she's got all of the badges that I had outstanding from Isla Paradiso. She's got no specific badges to chase in University Life, but she will chase a variety of badges, and the one I've got in mind for her at the moment was one she actually started working on in Isla Paradiso. It's the on-the-spot badge, where she's got to conduct 15 live interviews with the mobile radio station. I think she's still going to have to do the whole 15 because I doubt that it's remembered anything she did in Isla Paradiso, because I started a fresh game when I moved them to Sunlit Tides. The next in age order is Enid Makepeace. She's a brand new sim. I made her just for this game, and her lifetime wish is Major Master, which requires her to complete 3 degrees. Now I've got her marked down for the badge of Professional Student. In order to get that badge, she'll need to earn all 6 degrees with one sim. Katie Kingston is an old sim I made years ago but very rarely played with. I don't think I played with her at all. I gave her a makeover when I found her in my library, and then I added her to this game. She's evil, and she wants to become the Emperor of Evil, which means she needs to enter the criminal career, and a business degree will help her. And there are a lot of other things, evil things, that she wants to do, but I've decided that to be on the safe side, I'll get her to finish her business degree before she starts doing her evil activities. But she's eventually going to go for the badge, sell exam answers to 5 sims and those sorts of things, but I won't get her to do that until after she's got the business degree. Wilma Watson is currently enrolled in the arts degree. Her lifetime wish is Street Credible, which is the street art skill lifetime wish. That means she's going to achieve the badge to fulfill the street art skill lifetime wish for me. Now Carolyn and Katie and Wilma have already been to university, and all 3 of them have almost completed their degrees. So this will probably be the final trip to uni for some of them. Haven't decided that yet. We'll see what happens. Gary Barnes is the latest sim I made for this game specifically. I made him to get the badge to rant about death until the Reaper arrives. I thought I wouldn't get him to do that though until after he's got to level 10 in the alchemy skill and done the opportunity that you get after that, which will give him the Philosopher's Stone reward. That way the rest of the household will be able to bind his ghost and eventually revive him if that's what we decide we want to do. Marie Clarkson was made several years ago with a specific badge in mind. The badge is Woohoo, Herbs and Guitar. As a rock star, burn sweetgrass in a bonfire and woohoo with a sim at the theatre. Although she's been in my game for several years enough, I just haven't bothered playing with her, and a few times I have added her to the game to get this badge. I've never done anything about it. I made James Carter several years before I made Marie, so he's been languishing in my library for a really long time. I've never done much with him because he always drove me insane. Never did what I wanted him to do. I think it's a socially awkward trait that was the problem. But then I decided that he might be entertaining, so I've added him to this game, and his lifetime wish led me to believe he might get me the badge to earn a degree in science and medicine. So that's what he's going to do first up, and he's enrolled in that degree at the moment. The house is at the end of the road, and the greenhouse is next door. Carolyn's off to work in the carpool. She's in the video game career. Most of their living area is underground. As you can see, they're surrounded by ocean on 3 sides. It's just the road out, which loops around to get to the rest of the island. This is Sunlit Tides. And here she is arriving at work. I've left her in the video game career because I've never done much with it, but there is a badge she might potentially get. As a studio head, hold 3 video game conventions. Head back home now to see what the rest of the household is up to. It's a beautiful, bright, clear day and sunlit tides today. That's the back view of their house. Got a few gnomes and I think we've even got some bonfire at the back. Beautiful ocean. So James has gone to pick up some seeds from the nearby greenhouse. It's just next door, so he didn't have to travel far. He had a wish to collect some seeds, and that's what he's doing it. With his pockets full of seeds, he went home and started planting the ones he could plant into the soil rugs in his basement. There's a garden on 2 levels of this basement. This is the level that's meant for the smaller plants, and down lower there's a double-storey area of garden where the trees can be planted. But of course he can only plant seeds that he's allowed to plant at his particular skill level in gardening. He doesn't have a very high skill level, so he can't plant all of the seeds he's collected. A little later, 3 of the newer members of the household, Gary, Enid and James, stopped for a little chat, and then Katie showed up, the evil Katie. They were already starting to work out that she was a bit evil, so the 2 chaps made a quick exit and left Enid to deal with Katie. Carolyn had come home from work by now and was doing her usual idle activity of a workout. She is level 1 game button tester at her video game career. She's got a long way to go before she's got any hope of getting that badge I was interested in. As a video game head, she's going to have to hold 3 video game conventions. That might take a while. The doors in the walls in that room that Carolyn is exercising in, they all lead to the bedrooms, but the archway leads through to the kitchen and dining area. 1 level lower down is the room where the soil rugs are for the smaller plants, and Carolyn's gone down there to plant a few seeds herself. Next day, James headed into town to the library to read some skill books. He wanted to get his skills, and the best way to get your skills fast is to go and read a skill book in the library. That's if you don't have the Fast Learner Lifetime Happiness Reward. James discovered the grocery store was just across the road from the library. Very convenient. While preparing for one of the badges when they were living in Isla Paradiso, Carolyn had worked hard on her mixology skill and she had mastered it. And as a result, while they've been living in Sunlit Tides, she got an opportunity to moonlight as a mixologist. So off she ran to the local hotspot, which is called the hotspot, to do the mixology job for her day. And here she is in action at the bar. Now, fortunately, I've got a mod that will allow me to put professional bar animations onto any bar, and that has allowed me to leave the bars that were put into the various venues and have professional bar animations on them. So if you have Sunlit Tides and do it without the mod, this will just be like an ordinary bar that they've got in a house. Because I've got the mod, she can work as a mixologist and have the professional bar animations. Back at home, a few hungry Sims were gathering in the kitchen, hoping to eat. James was clearing up, which upset Katie somewhat because she was planning to eat that food that had gone off. So now she's going to have to cook something fresh. She probably would have got sick if she'd eaten it. Enid decided to jump on her soapbox and start ranting about something. James has gone down to work on some of the skilling objects downstairs, while Katie cooks her lunch. Eventually, Enid seems satisfied that she's fully informed Katie of her grievances, and then she hops off her soapbox. At this point that Gary shows up to have a chat, and she's happy to stop and talk to him. Katie finishes cooking and puts the food away in the fridge, and then she reverts to what seems to be her favourite idle activity. She whips her hollow computer out of her inventory and starts playing with it. Out comes the computer. She's just got to shake it and set it up just right, make it float. And now she's decided she's going to play chess, which is good because she's working on her logic skill. Suddenly, James is back, but he came back just to clean out the sink. So I checked to see if he's got the neat trait or something like that, but he doesn't seem to. He's nothing obvious anyway. He just likes to clean out the sink. He is eccentric, but I don't think that affects his need to clean the sink. Later on, Gary sets to work telling a ghost story, but Enid doesn't really want to listen to it, so she stops and has a chat with James, and then walks off, and James thinks, aha, ghost stories. Just what I need to have. Want to listen to a nice ghost story. Well, Katie's still there in the background, playing with her computer. I don't think she's still playing chess, though. She's doing something else now. James is enjoying that story. They've turned the lights out for the ghost story, and eventually Wilma shows up. She wants to have a chat with Enid. James is still engrossed in listening to every word of that ghost story. Looks like a bit of friendship's being made there between Enid and Wilma. Enid's just new to the household. Wilma's been in the house, or in this household, since it was in Isla Paradiso. It was just Wilma and Carolyn for a while. Wilma came into the game when Carolyn was looking for the badge to have 5 parties on a houseboat, and they got the badge together, but mostly it was Carolyn's effort. But Wilma showed up and started getting used to being in the game. So the ghost story ended, the lights came back on, and James and Gary heading off downstairs. They're going to play juice pong. Uh-oh. Gary got a mouthful of ball, but he spat it out okay, so he survived that one. Let's watch them for a few minutes playing their game of juice pong. We might see this again later on when they get to the uni, because there's ping pong tables there as well. They don't seem to be scoring anything, it's just, let's drink some juice. And gaining some, I guess that's rebel points, I'm not sure. Oh, now it's Gary's turn to drink. I've got all sorts of different chairs scattered around in this room, just to get them out. Some of them are from Showtime, and you've got to unlock them by sending sims on sim ports, but I don't do sim ports, and I do have a mod that will unlock them for me, because if you have them locked, you have to do sim ports every time you start a fresh game, which could be a little annoying after a while. Now, James is interested in science. He's going to do a science degree, and he wants to, his lifetime wish is about technology and science. I just forget what it is at the moment. So he's gone over to the science machine now to learn a bit about the science skill. Carolyn's still working on at the bar with her mixology skill, but later that evening everybody's at home. They're enjoying a little bit of peace and fun in their backyard, which is right on the shore of the ocean. They've got their bonfire going. I've just put this bonfire and seats in here just so they'd have something. It wasn't there before. This is just for them to get to know each other. He just threw something in that fire. I don't know what he had in his inventory that he could have thrown in. It's letting off some interesting smoke. There is a badge for that. You've got to throw something into the fire 20 times and then do something else 20 times to get the badge. I wasn't going to worry about that badge just yet. Hopefully whatever he just did then will count towards it. See, there's ocean on both sides. Whichever way they look, they can see the beach and the ocean. Well, Enid's brought a book out, but we don't have any lights. I'll have to get some lights out here for them. But being a sim, she doesn't really need a light. She can sit in the dark and read. I think that surfboard fence came with Isla Paradiso expansion pack. Yes, Katie's got to get her gardening skill up, so she's doing a bit of watering and tending of the garden. Meanwhile, Carolyn's there in the background, practicing her kicky ball skills. In this household, we've only got human sims. Sometimes supernaturals interfere with the badges. You're best to have human sims for most of the badges. Some badges require supernaturals. When we get to those badges, I might not be able to do them with this household. So it must be late at night and the pixies are out over the wishing well. They only come at the wishing well some nights, and only if the tree of prosperity is also on the lot. So Carolyn's wished for something. They usually wish for, that looks like she wished for power. They get yellowish swirls around them when it's power, or orange if it's happiness. They usually wish for that something autonomously like that when they're tired. James is now telling a ghost story, and Marie is listening to it. One thing about living in the basement, you can never tell if it's day or night. It's just whether the lights are on or off. Wilma just came down the hallway from the bedroom area. All of the bedrooms are down that way. This area that they're in now is a living room. They've got got a TV from Into the Future, which is just against that wall, and you can only see the stand that it's on. It just appears on the wall when it's needed. It looks like Carolyn's going to turn it on now. There it is. Oh, she's going to do some exercise. And the kitchen is to our right. The kitchen and dining area is to the right of the screen. As you look at it, it's the end of the ghost story. The lights come back on. Marie's gone down to the computer downstairs. She's playing chess. Get her logic skill up, help her with her music career. Next day, Katie's out looking for seeds. She obviously had a wish to go and find some seeds. I'll get her to collect those suns as well, because they don't have very many simoleons. There's only about 42,000 simoleons. And I want to send all 7 of them to university shortly. We've got to be able to pay the university fees. And the suns are worth 100 simoleons each, provided you sell them on time. If you don't sell them quickly, they will reduce in value and eventually just simply disappear from your inventory. James has got a wish to do a class in the science skill, so he's gone to the science facility to attend science class. There, he's got to pay 300 simoleons to do it. He's very interested in science. Katie's got a wish to talk about gardening, and this tourist was just standing there. Now, if I'd have been the tourist and I knew Katie, I would have run for my life, but he just stood there and he let her chat him up, and she kept talking to him until she got to know him well enough to be able to talk about gardening, and she got her lifetime happiness points. See, she hasn't given up with him yet, even though he did try to make an escape. She hasn't talked about gardening yet. That's what she wants to do. Poor man didn't have time to get away. Talking about the heat. And finally she can talk to him about gardening. She had to get to know him well enough to find out if he was interested in it or not. See, they're happily talking about gardening now. James is obviously interested in advanced technology, and when he got home from his science class, I had to buy him a bot building machine, and he's currently working on designing nanites. Got to start somewhere. Marie's at level 1 in this music career, and she doesn't know much about music. She had a guitar, but I thought she ought to get one just like Oscar has, because I thought it looked pretty cool for a rock star. And here she is down in the basement practicing the guitar. The computer she was playing chess on is smoking behind her. James needs to work on his handiness skills, so I got him to come across and fix the computer while she continued practicing her guitar. Katie's come home and she's up in the front yard there critiquing the gnomes. There's a baby gnome down near the rubbish bin. This is her avant-garde trait coming out. There's too many of them have got that avant-garde trait, but I guess there's a reason for it that I've forgotten at the moment. There's a few spare street art kits sitting there. I guess some of them will collect them shortly. Enid had an opportunity that required her to do a floor mural, so she went out in the backyard. That was a nice safe place for her to do a mural. She was unlikely to be arrested for it there, I thought, but she's going to have to do some out in the wild eventually. I think she's got the avant-garde trait as well, as has Wilma. But Wilma's the one who's going to have to get to the top of the street art skill, so she's the one who's going to be doing lots of these murals over the next few episodes. Takes a long time to do a mural. The sun's just gone down and she still hasn't finished. It's Carolyn heading off to the dive lot. I decided, I had a bit of a think about it. We've got little Carolyn here who is so attached to the water, and she's got level 10 in scuba diving, and there's no dive lots in Sunlit Tides. So I took a few hours out of my gameplay to build her a dive lot. We'll soon have everybody diving in it. But I finished it and it was night time, but I still had to rush her out there to test it for me to make sure that she could actually swim around in it. I used the instructions from my video on how to build a dive lot. I've got that tutorial. It's actually the most popular of all my tutorials. So here she is. You can't see much, it's too dark, but she's in the dive lot. Unfortunately, I plonked the lot down on a spot where there was some quite shallow water, as well as some very deep water. When she got back home, Carolyn settled down to a game of chess on their new chessboard with Wilma. They can both improve their logic skill. Carolyn's the only one with a lot of skills. Most of the rest of them have got virtually no skills at all. And also I'm working hard building skills for everybody but Carolyn, but I am building Carolyn's skills as well. And I'm also working hard on getting their lifetime happiness points up, because Wilma has got the next most and she doesn't have many at all. And the rest of the household have starting with nothing. So I am doing what I can to get them as many lifetime happiness points as possible, as well as building up their skills in as many different skills as I think they need to have skills in. Downstairs, Gary is learning to play pool. He was wanting to do some strange trick, but I haven't seen him trying to learn to do that yet. He's doing okay at the pool table. This is something he's done autonomously. I didn't tell him to do this. He's sunk most of the balls now. Upstairs, where the girls are playing chess, Marie's come up to serenade them with her guitar and learn some more music or learn more guitar skill while she's at it. Now this is when I decided it's time they were going to university. So one at a time they've come out to get their university presents from the bucket that the university mascot left and do the aptitude test to get into uni. We'll just do a quick run through each of them working on the aptitude test. I think everybody but Gary got a few points towards some degrees. Gary got a complete 0, but I still sent them all to uni together. Katie's next. She's upstairs playing some evil game on her futuristic computer. Now she's already been to uni and has almost completed her business degree. Once she has completed her business degree and had the degree awarded, I will then start her with chasing evil badges. Her phone rings and she answers it and accepts an opportunity relating to the street art skill. And this room that she's in is her bedroom, and that's her wardrobe behind her, and you can just see a part of a bed in the foreground. Katie leaves the bedroom and heads off downstairs to get up to some mischief, undoubtedly. Who knows what. Marie's still serenading Carolyn and Wilma, who are still playing chess. But Enid is finishing off a painting. Took me a while to work out who started it, but it was Enid. So no sooner had she started working on it again than I decided it was time for her to get her university freebies and do her test to see if she could get into uni and what assistance she might get. That's the motorbike that Carolyn rode to the dive lot the other night. I was very surprised when she jumped on that bike. Didn't know they had a bike. Must have been in Carolyn's inventory. There is Enid doing her test. Remember, Enid wants to complete 3 degrees for her lifetime wish, and we need her to get 6 degrees to get the badge for getting all 6 degrees with 1 sim, and that's her results for this test. She must have been working hard on relevant skills because she's getting a partial scholarship. Let's see how Gary goes doing his test after he gets all his freebies from the university bucket. He had to think a bit hard in some of the questions, and as a result of him not having many skills at all, he didn't do very well in his test. As a matter of fact, he hasn't made any progress at all by the look of it, but he'll go to uni with the rest of them. Carolyn and Wilma decided to do their test at the same time. They've already been to uni and they've both almost completed their degrees, but I'd expect Carolyn to do better than anybody because she has so much more experience and a lot more skills than anybody else has in the household. Wilma went out the back to have a little chat with the household gnomes. The 4 graduation gnomes all came back from uni when the 3 girls went last time. Katie came out next to do her test and get her freebies. She's already been to university as well and has almost completed the business degree. And that was a bit of bad timing. Marie's heading off to work, so she won't be home for hours. And I was hoping to get them all through their tests so they could head off to uni this evening. Not to worry. Katie did okay. She got some points and a scholarship. Won't be long before she finishes her business degree, and then we can get her to work on selling exam answers and coming home and doing all sorts of mean and nasty things and getting us some badges for evil sims. And she can join the criminal career too, because after all, her lifetime wish is Emperor of Evil. There's just one more thing that needs to be done before we all leave for uni, and it takes everybody who's in the household to do it. Enid took off in the motorcycle. Everybody else is getting into a taxi, except one of them who jumped into a limousine, and then they got into a boat. Now I said a boat because they each get their own boat. A whole series of little boats turn up. We need to see Dive Lot in daylight. And after I got them almost there, I thought, why am I sending them all to the dive lot? Because only one of them can dive, and the rest are going to have to spend their entire time on the surface snorkeling to get their scuba diving skill up enough to be able to dive. It takes a level 2 scuba diving skill to be able to dive at this dive lot. Carolyn will dive, she's got level 10 in diving, but Enid, Katie and Wilma are going to be snorkeling on the surface for the entire time. She's spun into her scuba gear. I told her to use her ordinary scuba gear rather than the retro diving suit. There it is. It looks different in daylight, doesn't it? Some of it's quite shallow, but most of it is deep. She's going to catch a little jellyfish. So things are spawning down here. It's only been there for probably 1 day. It's a brand new dive lot. I tried to be careful to not let any of the spawners cross over into, we'd have fish and shells spawning under the sand. Where you see the bright blue bits, that's the outside the dive lot. I painted the dive lot floor with either sand or with the dive lot terrain paint that came with Isla Paradiso. There's some kelp she could harvest if she wants to. There's a few treasure chests and 3 dive caves. But the dive caves don't go anywhere. I think I'll have to build another dive lot eventually so that I've got a bit of variety. But having Carolyn, with all her diving skills and having achieved her Seaside Saviour lifetime wish in a world without any dive lots, I thought was a bit rough. Somebody from town's come down to join her. Sometimes the game generates a wild mermaid as well, but I didn't see one down there this time. Anyway, we'll see lots more of this dive lot as time goes by. So that'll do for now. That night I spotted a deer on the beach. It gave me quite a surprise, but it was definitely a deer. Even more surprising was when later on, the quiet of the evening was broken by a burglar arriving and setting off the burglar alarm. The police arrived and naturally ignored the burglar completely. He had to go inside and inspect the entire house before wandering out slowly just after the burglar caught a taxi home. Just as the burglar was leaving, Wilma came rushing out the door and she tried to stop the taxi, but it was too late. She couldn't do anything about it. So she was quite upset, and then she went and inspected the outside of the house just to see if anything was taken. Especially she was interested in that floor mural that was on the ground there. But fortunately she was able to critique it and then go back inside and continue with her evening's activities. Here comes the policeman. He was a bit slow in getting that burglar. The arrival of the burglar and the policeman caused a great disturbance to the entire household, and they spent some time discussing it and were very grateful that they had a burglar alarm and nothing had been taken. Carolyn, of course, had found the need to do a workout. A few of the others had a midnight snack, cleaned up afterwards, thank goodness. Marie broke the sink. She's going to fix it. James just left his dirty plate there beside the sink. What else could he do? Goes down to the garden and picks the piece of fruit off the tree of prosperity. Got himself a new skill. Some of those trees are starting to grow in the garden. All are enrolled in university now, and between the money they had and Carolyn's full scholarship and partial scholarships for a few of the others, they were able to afford it. Problem is, someone's due to go to work, and we can't have that happen when we're going to university. Notice I've put lights around the yard now because after the burglar it was so dark in the entire yard that I thought we should have put some light on the subject. Well, we're all ignoring that car. No one's actually heading off to work, which is good because we need to go together to university. We don't want to have to wait for somebody to come home from work. There we go, there's the bag. There's only one of them carrying a bag this time, but there's the truck that they head off in. Oh, she wanted to go in the carpool. I hope she got into the right truck. She wasn't dressed for work. Well, it's time for the end of the video. We won't see them arriving at university, but we know they're on their way. I shall see you in the next video. Do hope that you enjoyed this one, and give it a like if you did enjoy it. Consider subscribing if you'd like to be notified of future videos. I have recorded them at uni, I just haven't included them in this video, so the next one won't be too long away. I'll probably do 2 or 3 videos on this group before I move on to another story. So thank you for watching. Bye bye for now, and happy simming.